This tutorial we're going to cover working with inventory on a sales order. And by inventory that would be this section right here. So whenever you select a product either from the drop down here or from the grid here below, it's going to load how many of those items are in stock, how many of those items are on order for stock, how many are committed on all orders, how many are on order on a purchase order for this job. And that would be whatever the job name is here. It will look for orders or products that are on order for this job, for that part number. And then how many of those have been received on those purchase orders. Okay, one thing we've made some changes on, if you're an existing PortalPro user, then you probably recall we used to have a checkbox here that was labeled has components. And that meant that anytime you selected a three-sided frame, like this one right here, which would have components, that box was checked. Well, we've eliminated that. And what we've done is we've modified the part types here. And the part types are pretty much in line with the way QuickBooks or something like that may handle their inventory. So the first one here you see is an assembly. So we've replaced that has components with this part type assembly. So whenever a three-sided frame pops up or is selected that has components, it'll be labeled as an assembly in this drop-down. Inventory part is any part that you normally stock in your warehouse for resale. That does not include a part number that's for a specific job or customer. Now this might be up to your accounting, and you might have to check with your accountant on how you track these sort of things, but typically I believe that's the way it works even in QuickBooks. An inventory part is something you stock as part of your inventory, and then non-inventory part is something you can put on a shelf somewhere, but it's not something that you typically stock. So it could be something for a particular job, like for this job, for instance. These doors here are for this particular job, so they would not actually count as inventory. And then, of course, service is anything that's like a labor type thing or something you can't physically put on a shelf. Here's an example here with bundling. Bundling is pretty much a service because that's just tying all these three parts together to make this three-sided frame. It's something that Curry's adds to their charge for the frame, for a three-sided frame. Okay, so the way this is working now is we'll start down here first. So I could select any one of these items, and you can see in the grid it will show you how many are in stock for each item, how many are on order for stock, how many are on purchase orders for this job, and how many have been received. So for this 607 door, there's nothing in stock and nothing on order, but there are nothing on order for stock, that is, but there are 15 on order for this job, and that's this job right here. But none of them have been received yet. So I can double click this and we'll open it up here. And you can see it just basically puts the same information up here. Now this was also going to tell us how many other orders, or all orders actually, including this one, that this item shows up on. And there's a total quantity of 190 on all sales orders. So there's quite a bit of these being used. So this is something that looks like it needs to be ordered right away to either bring up the inventory or for whatever jobs those are all for. Now this is my test database, so hopefully it won't be such extremes on your end. Should go a little bit more smoothly because I don't keep this thing up to date like I should, and it's not really what I'm here for. So anyway, if we look at the next item, it's the same. You see the same thing for this Yale passage set. Looks like there's 41 in stock. There's 20 more on order for stock, but nothing for this job. So this item here, it could be pulled. We've got 5 of them ordered. It could be pulled from inventory, from what we have in stock. And now this frame, since the frame is an assembly, it's not inventory or non-inventory. You can see everything shows up as 0. It's because nothing of that is tracked. What is tracked are these 3 components, not the bundling because that's a service, but these 3 parts here are all tracked. And it looks like the only thing we have available to us is the header. So that means that hinge jam and strike jam would definitely have to be ordered. Now, one thing you can do, if for some reason you wouldn't need to pull something up, you actually have all the information you need here. You can, previously, if you double-clicked a component, it would not let you open it up here. Let's go ahead and clear those fields. But now we do allow you to double-click it for whatever reason if you need to pull it up here. And you can see it's just going to basically copy the same information that we have down here. Although we are able to see how many other orders that might be committed to this header. Now, the thing we can do though is, if we can't really do it with this one, I'll have to find one that where we have something on order. But you have this button here to show POs. So if there was anything, any purchase orders that had this item associated to it, we could click this button and pull up a list. So let's just see what that looks like. And we'll just go ahead and select we'll take this door. So it says there's 15 on order. So what I can do is click Show POs. And this brings up all the POs currently in the system that this door has been ordered on, with the date and the job name. It looks like every one of them are for Dillard's. So, I mean, you could add these quantities up, and that quantity should come to what we have in here on the on order text box. So, if necessary, looks like the dates are pretty old, so these have been on order for a while. And obviously they should have been received by now, but they have not. Again, this is test database. Any one of these lines, all I have to do is double click it, and it'll open up that purchase order. So then I can take a look at this purchase order, and you can see there's the doors that were on that sales order, plus some other items. So 2021, I'd probably want to look at this and find out where in the world this material is. So other than that, like I said, typically it won't show up like that for you. All right, so then I can do, if there's something I want to do in here, I can do it or whatever. So we'll just close that. We're going to do another tutorial for purchase orders, inventory in just a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and close this out. Now, another thing you can do, let's say for whatever reason, maybe your company, you do not track, or whenever you order, let's say a 3-sided frame, that's how you order it, is a 3-sided frame. You don't do it by components or anything like that. You can update your system to change all of these 3-sided frames from assemblies to non-inventory or inventory. And you would do that through, you can go under the inventory control, and we'll just pull up, we'll just do queries first, get all part numbers. You can see it, there's the part type here for everything. And I can scroll down through here and you can see there's some assemblies, that's all the 3-sided frames. So they're labeled as assemblies. And Then you have all components. Those are all inventory parts. And some non-inventory parts like labels and things like that. So you can update this part type through this inventory control. Now, what I would suggest is instead of wasting your time going down and try to check each box, or, I mean, if you want to mark everything as inventory or non-inventory, you could just simply select all, and then you would select non-inventory part here, click update part, and it'll mark every single item in this list as non-inventory. But typically you'll probably want to do something a little bit different than that. Let me go ahead and clear this box. And we're going to go ahead and select a category of, let's say, frames, because that's what we were just talking about. Click all parts, say no to that. I meant to say yes. Okay, so now we've loaded all the three-sided frames. And you can see they're all marked as assemblies. So at any time, just scroll through the list to make sure that's the only thing that you have in here. Looks like that's a Stylite frame that was for a specific job that was created probably through the frame detailing program. So if I wanted to change the way Portal Pro handles three-sided frames and make them all inventory or non-inventory, however you want to do it, then I could do it through this form right here. Just simply check this box. It selects everything. Select what you want to set it to, whether it's inventory, as meaning something you would typically stock, and then non-inventory part. Now, inventory part will be counted as stock throughout the system as inventory, and for counts and everything else. Non-inventory parts will not. So keep that in mind on how you want to set that up. If you have any questions on this, just give us a call. We'll work with you on it. So once I decide how I want to set up, I can just select it, click Update Part, and it'll change those assemblies to either inventory or non-inventory, whatever I want to set it to. And what that means is, from here on out, whenever I select a three-sided frame from the list here, it's no longer going to show components. It's not going to require me to enter components. It'll be considered an actual part itself, and that's how it's tracked throughout your system. Okay, so that's that should pretty well cover it on the different inventory parts and things we can do. Want to make sure let's go ahead and open up this frame. I want to show you how the components look. So when we have open the three-sided frame up as an assembly, we can now click Show Components. And here we can see all the components for this frame. And I can do the same thing. I can double-click any one of these, like the header. It's going to open up and give me all the details right here. And or anything I need to do, any changes if I need to add something to it. But if you're creating a new part, let's say a welded frame, you would be better off to do that in the parts or add edit products. You could select a three-sided frame, then change the components and add a welding charge to it, and maybe change the part number to reflect that that is now a welded frame. So you can do things like that with the components. All right, so then you'll have knockdown and welded frames. Now in the system, we've only built knockdown frames. We didn't go through and create any welded frames at this point. But that's something you could easily add to your database if you like. All right, I think that should pretty well cover it. Oh yeah, let's just clear these fields. Let's say I'm going to add a new part. Let's add a Yale closer. Oop. There we go. Let's say 4,400, 689. Now when I select that, you can see it comes up as an inventory part. Now, it says here I've got 5 in stock. This particular order only has 5 doors on it, so I would probably only want to put 5 on the order. But let's say it's another different order, and I want to put a quantity of 10. Now, what's going to happen when I change this to a quantity of 10, and I click out of that box, you see what happened is it checked this box suggest ordering, because it looked at this quantity and it knows that there's not enough in stock, there's not enough on order, and there aren't any either on purchase orders. So it automatically checked this box to suggest ordering. So now when I save this to the list, it's going to add this part number to the suggested order list in your database. Now that is something you would get through, and this is actually covered in another tutorial. We've added this button here called purchasing. You can see this tells us right now that we have 164 suggested parts to order, and then 6 parts to be reordered. So we now have reordering, which we'll cover all this in another tutorial. I'm not going to delve into that right now. But it would add it to that list, and then you can go into purchasing, and there we go. You could go into purchasing and get those products on a purchase order and get them ordered and get them into your inventory, to your warehouse. Okay, now another thing this will do, let's, I need to find a, let me pause this for a second. I need to search for another product. Or here we go. Let's just try this door again. Let's clear this. I want to pull up this door again. And that is 3070. Right here. Okay, so this one, it tells me there's 15 on order for this job of this particular item. Now, I know I've already got 5 of them down here, but I could do another 10, let's say. And when I put 10 in here, and I move out of this box, you can see it changed it to a non-inventory part, because now it's going to be pulled from whatever's on order, rather than from our stock inventory. So that's another thing this drop down, or this part type, is going to help to distinguish. So these 10 items will now come from whatever this purchase order is. I can click on it, and again, it's a bunch of different ones, so we got a lot of purchase orders to receive here. And that's how it's not going to be counted as inventory at this point. So you can even manually change this if you like. If you want to switch it back to an inventory part for whatever reason, which really wouldn't work in this case because there's nothing in stock, nothing in inventory. So this is not written in stone. So keep that in mind. You can change that if necessary. But typically the system will take care of it for you based on how many you're ordering and how many are available down here. Now, another thing to keep in mind is you might want to consider this data here as, I guess you could say, it's transitory. It's not permanent, meaning even though since I've opened up this sales order, these numbers, almost any one of them, could change while I'm in the sales order. Somebody else could be in another sales order or in another purchase order, and change the quantities. And that will change. Now those changes are not going to reflect here until you close this and then open it back up again. Then you're going to see the true numbers again. But again, that could change at any moment because, again, if somebody else is working, let's say with this 6070 door, then these quantities here can change. Now, one thing that is like immediate is if I double click one of these, and you can see it loads it up here, but what it does is it goes back to the database to load these values. It's not pulling those values from down here. So you can get an immediate answer right here if there are any changes, just by double clicking that line and opening it up. So, okay, that should pretty well cover it. If you have any questions on this, please call or email, and we'll be more than happy to help you out.